My parents sought legal action over my refusal to pay my sister's mortgage. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. My parents said, "If you won't pay, a judge will make you." That line didn't come over Thanksgiving pie or some soap opera stage. It came through my phone on a Monday lunch break, buzzing between scheduling spreadsheets and a lukewarm tuna sandwich. I'm Alex, 29, a mid-level healthcare administrator who color codes budgets and keeps nurses' schedules from collapsing. I make enough to breathe, not enough to brag. If I take on Tessa's mortgage, $2, for $80 a month before insurance and taxes, I lose the. When my phone lit up, I knew the fight wasn't about love. It was about the story my parents like to show the world. The perfect family, the grateful children, the daughter in the nice subdivision. The text came from my mother, Elena, punctuated, polite, with a threat wearing pearls. "We'll take appropriate measures." A minute later, my father, Victor, followed with a voice message that sounded like a closing argument. "Consequences," he said, like the word had my name carved on it. I froze, staring at the number that mattered more than anything. My own rent, $1,350 due Friday. I added, almost automatically, the math of my quiet life. Utilities, bus pass, copays, a savings line I nicknamed breathing room. If I paid Tessa's mortgage, my breathing room disappeared. Worse, the precedent would be set, forever. I stood up, walked into the stairwell, and listened again, the echo turning Victor's voice metallic. The message ended with his favorite closer. "Family takes care of family." I typed back the shortest sentence I could manage that still felt like my spine. "No." Then I took a screenshot of the thread and saved it to a folder labeled Paper Trail 1. I didn't know the folder would end up saving more than just me. It would map a maze I hadn't realized I'd been walking since childhood. By nightfall, a courier would knock, carrying something uglier than love. People like to say our family is close, meaning we orbit the same holidays without colliding. Growing up, Tessa got the shiny things: the new flute, the varsity jacket, the solo road trip with mom to look at colleges. I got efficiency, rides to community events if they lined up with Tessa's practices. "You're so reliable," Elena would say, the way someone praises a refrigerator for running. Victor liked order more than people. As long as the house looked perfect, feelings could stay in the garage. The favoritism wasn't cruel, exactly. It was efficient. Tessa dazzled and broke rules beautifully. I learned to keep receipts. When she bought the tract home in Brookside, the porch swing went up on Instagram before the loan funded. "Starter Palace," she captioned, winking emojis sprinkled like confetti. Victor shared it with, "Proud of our girl," while I liked the photo and paid my phone bill. A month before the Monday threat, I visited my parents for dinner, and Elena set 2 wine glasses for Tessa, none for me. "You're driving," she said. Tessa arrived late, breathless, with a story about a nail in her tire and a tip about a great cashback card. When I mentioned a promotion, tiny raise, bigger responsibilities, Victor smiled into his steak. "Good," he said. "Maybe you can help Tessa with her house a bit. You don't have dependents." I laughed, misunderstood, and said, "I have a life." Elena touched my wrist. "Family is your life." 2 days later, a church friend told me Elena had praised Tessa for carrying us all with her success, and sighed about how some people didn't understand sacrifice. The smear floated under my skin like a splinter I couldn't catch with tweezers. By the time Tessa texted, "Can you float me this month? I'll Venmo next week," I recognized the choreography, but not the part where they expected me to pirouette into her mortgage. On Sunday, Elena posted Tessa's porch swing with the caption, "When one of us rises, we all rise," tagging me like a prop. I stared until the words blurred and felt something small and stubborn click into place. I would not be volunteered again. That night, Victor's smile would sharpen, and an audience would be invited. The audience turned out to be 2. Tessa, sulking into a hoodie, and a man in a blazer who introduced himself as Michael, family friend, but handed me a business card that said Senior Recovery Specialist. The meeting had been billed as dinner, but the table at my parents' house was set with documents, not plates. "We're just going to talk options," Elena said, throat tight with sweetness. Victor folded his arms. Tessa stared at the placemat like it might open a trapdoor. "Alex," Michael began, "the good news is, this is temporary cash flow. not insolvency. He slid a single-page printout toward me, a past due notice with 2 red stamps and a number that prickled my scalp. $7,440, 3 months. We can avoid further penalties if someone with stable income steps in for a limited period. I'm not a someone, I said. I'm me. And my answer is no. Elena's smile thinned. Don't be dramatic. It's just a bridge. Victor's voice went gravelly. Say yes, or there will be consequences. Tessa finally spoke. It's not like I'm asking you to buy me a car, Alex. It's just a few months. You make charts for a living. I exhaled and took out my phone, photographing the notice. You texted me last week that you were caught up, I said. Which part is true? Her eyes flashed. It was true that day. Michael cleared his throat. Let's stay constructive. Great idea, I said, putting the printout into my folder. I'll need copies of everything. If I'm expected to sacrifice, I expect transparency. Elena pushed back her chair. You're insulting us. No, I said, feeling calm spread like cool water. I'm finally respecting myself. When I got home, the late notice had a twin in my mailbox. It was addressed to Tessa but forwarded to me as if the universe had updated the payee. Under the porch light, I read the sugar-coated menace. We appreciate your timely attention. I opened my banking app just to confirm the small fortress of my balance. Then Elena's text stacked like bricks. Proud of you for stepping up. Bank Tuesday works. And, finally, please don't embarrass us about this. Inside, a new envelope hummed with a threat dressed as courtesy. Tuesday arrived with gray sky and the smell of copier toner. At 9:12 a.m., a number I didn't recognize called my work line. This is Dana from Lincoln & Klein, a voice said. We represent your parents in a family matter. I put her on speaker while I opened a new note titled Paper Trail 2. They intend to pursue equitable contribution for mortgage payments made on behalf of your sister, she continued, as if reading a recipe. We're requesting a meeting to discuss your obligations. My obligations? I said. To their choices? Elena and Victor believe you promised to help, Dana said. Send me that promise, I said. I'll wait. Silence, then a cough. We can send a draft agreement. At 6 p.m., I walked into my parents' house and found an ambush masquerading as dinner. Tessa in a dress too formal for a weeknight, Victor at the head of the table, Elena with a printed talking points sheet like we were at a board meeting. A legal envelope sat next to my plate. Read it, Victor said. I slid the packet out. The letterhead matched Dana's. Words like demand, assurances, and avoid litigation lined up like soldiers in a parade. This isn't how family fixes things, I said. This is how a company eats a smaller company. It's how grown-ups solve problems, Victor said. By creating bigger ones. I asked. Elena's hands trembled around her water glass. Tessa's missed 3 payments, Alex. The bank doesn't care about feelings. Tessa lifted her chin. I'll get a bonus. It's just timing. Show me the bonus paperwork, I said, and the room cooled. Victor's jaw flexed. We're done negotiating. Sign, or we escalate. I folded the letter into my folder and stood, heart hammering so hard I could hear it against the paper. Outside, dusk had draped the street in that bluish honesty that makes every house look equal. My phone buzzed, unknown number again. Mr. Alex Rivera? A man asked when I answered. I have legal documents for you. I watched my breath fog in the cooling air. You can hand them to my attorney, I said, inventing an attorney I didn't yet have. Then please provide a name, he replied, steps crunching on the sidewalk as he approached through the shadows. Behind me, the front door opened, and Victor said, Take them now. I didn't take them. I tucked the packet under my arm, walked past Victor, and said, I'll read this with counsel. The word felt like stepping onto a raft. He followed me to the driveway, voice low enough that the neighbors couldn't hear. You're making this harder than it needs to be, he said. If you loved your sister, you'd fix this. I unlocked my car slowly, breathing until my hands stopped shaking. If I loved debt collectors, I'd marry one, I said, and slid inside. At home, I put the packet on my kitchen table, poured water, and called Aunt May Chun, not my aunt by blood, but by the years she'd mentored me at the clinic and because every family needs one adult. She listened without interrupting, then said, Alex, listen to me carefully. Do not sign anything. Send me photos. We'll start with the county recorder and the lender. I can't afford a lawsuit, I said. You can't afford to fund a lie either, she replied. I slept badly, waking to my phone lighting up like an emergency room. Elena's long messages. We raised you better, and your grandparents would be ashamed. Tessa's shorter one. They said you'd help. Why embarrass us? And a final, colder text from Victor. Counsel copied. I made coffee and opened a new spreadsheet. Dates, times, amounts, who said what, where it was said. Then I opened the packet. Page 1. A family support agreement requiring me to assume monthly payments in perpetuity or until Tessa liquidates the property. Page 4. A draft statement describing my verbal commitment at a family dinner, the dinner where I'd asked for transparency. I walked to the window, watched Dawn turn the parking lot pink, and realized I had two choices. Be their ATM or be the adult who said no. I chose no. I scanned the documents to a new folder labeled evidence and sent them to May. 10 minutes later, she called back, voice sharpened. County records show a cash-out refinance on Tessa's place last spring, she said. There's also a gift letter attached to the file with your name on it. The room tilted. I never signed any gift letter, I said. Then someone did, she answered. And we're going to find out who. Outside my door, paper rustled again, as if trouble were molting. I drove to the county recorder's office on my lunch break, a place that smells like dust and ink and the quiet panic of other people's paperwork. The clerk, a woman with silver nails and an expression like she'd seen this movie before, pulled Tessa's parcel file. We stood shoulder to shoulder at a counter under fluorescent lights while she slid the documents into view. Original loan. Then last spring's cash-out refinance. Then, my stomach tightened. A single-page gift letter stating I had provided $25,000 to support equity improvement. The signature looked like my name had been traced by a left hand in a moving car. The notary stamp belonged to a neighborhood mailing shop I'd used for packages. Is this normal? I asked. She didn't answer, just tapped the small line reading. Donor affirms no expectation of repayment. The date? 2 days after a barbecue where Elena had joked that I was Tessa's safety net. I photographed everything, then paid for certified copies. Outside, the sky had that hospital-white glare that makes everything feel sterile and merciless. I called the mailing shop. A teen voice told me the notary only worked weekends and didn't remember individual customers. I asked if they logged IDs. Not really, she said. May texted, come by my office at 5. I spent the rest of the day moving budget blocks while my brain ran parallel equations. Forged gift letter plus cash-out refinance equals a hole they expected me to fill. At 5, May circled the signature with a pen. Notice the hesitation marks, she said. Someone stopped and started while copying. Also, the notary's commission expires next year, but the stamp font is outdated. She pulled out a template gift letter from a lender website. These read almost word for word. Whoever did this downloaded a sample. I swallowed, tasting metal. If they used my name to get cash, I said, I'm not a lifeline. I'm camouflage. May nodded. Start a chronology. Every call, text, doc. Record all conversations going forward. That night, my phone pinged. Tessa, breezy and brittle. Good news coming, she wrote. Just hang tight and don't overreact. I stared at the forged curve of my name until lines doubled, then set my recorder app to auto for every ring. The next morning, a lender helpline agent would confirm something worse than a forged flourish. My throat closed when I heard the phrase, authorized party added without proper verification. The helpline agent sounded like she'd already eaten 2 fires before breakfast. For security, I can't confirm names, she said, but I can describe activity that affects your risk. I provided the loan number from the past due notice. She placed me on hold long enough to memorize the water stains on my office ceiling. When she returned, her tone softened. There were 3 cashier's checks drawn within 2 weeks of the refinance, she said, $11,000, $6,500, and $5,200. Memo lines read contractor, roof, and miscellaneous. No invoices uploaded. Also, an online portal shows a new authorized viewer added under a phone number ending 1313. My number ends 3113. Off by 1 digit. Perfect for plausible deniability. If I were you, she added carefully, I'd put a fraud alert on my credit. I texted May the amounts. she replied with 2 words, pattern developing. Then I called the bank branch listed on the cashier's checks and asked whether instruments with those amounts had cleared. The teller, wary but kind, transferred me to a manager who confirmed dates but not payees. If you have a police report, we can release more, she said. Police. The word thudded in my chest like an unwelcome drum. At lunch I met Tessa in a strip mall cafe with mismatched mugs and a chalkboard menu that made everything sound homemade. She blew in late, smelling like expensive shampoo and impatience. You're being dramatic, she said before sitting. Mom said you're inventorying our lives like a little auditor. I put the gift letter copy on the table. Did you sign my name? Her eyes darted to the door. That letter was template stuff, she said. Everyone does it. I lowered my voice. Everyone commits forgery. She rolled hers. Don't be a cop, Alex. We're family. Who got the cashier's checks? I asked. What contractor? Show me the invoice. Tessa dragged a napkin across the table, collecting crumbs. Victor handled that, she said, slipping into first names like a shield. Dad does numbers, remember? The waitress set down soup like a referee separating fighters. I won't pay a debt built on my forged signature, I said. Tessa stood abruptly, chair scraping. If you loved me, you'd keep quiet, she hissed and left. I watched steam rise from untouched soup, then photographed the chalkboard, the clock, the table number, anchors for my timeline. On my way out, my phone buzzed with a new text from Elena. Dinner tonight, no drama. Let's be nice. May responded to my update with a short directive, bring a witness. I stared at my reflection in the cafe window and realized I needed something recorded, not remembered. May introduced me to a former compliance officer named Jorge who agreed to sit near us at dinner as a friend, phone in his pocket set to record. He arrived early and took a table by the potted ficus, pretending to nurse a spritzer. Elena had laid the nice tablecloth, the one reserved for holidays and donors. Victor wore a tie. Tessa wore a face like innocence painted over panic. We're going to be civil, Elena announced, hands flat on linen. We love each other. I placed a small black notebook next to my plate. Victor's eyes flicked to it and tightened. Today, he said, we finalized the plan. What plan? I asked. He slid a printed family contribution schedule across. It was neat, almost beautiful. Columns of months, my name in bold next to $2,480, then a note. To be reviewed annually. That's not a plan, I said. That's a sentence. Tessa leaned in. Stop making this ugly, she whispered. It's just until bonuses clear. I held up the gift letter copy. Who signed my name? Elena flinched. That was administrative. Victor's expression didn't move. Paperwork is not the battlefield, he said. Decisions are. Jorge stirred his spritzer like he couldn't hear. I asked, calm as I could manage, what were the cashier's checks for? Victor smiled, a lawyerly crescent. Improvements. Which? I pressed. Elena's eyes shone. The roof, the patio, some inside work. Tessa added, lighting. I placed a stack of printed bank statements. Public records may had matched by date, with blank payees. No invoices, I said. No permits filed. Yet 3 checks. And a new portal login 1 digit off my number. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. Victor's nostrils flared. Are you accusing us of fraud? He asked. I'm accusing someone of using my name, I said. And I won't finance it. The air thinned. Tessa pushed back her chair. I can't breathe, she announced, but didn't leave. Victor pointed at the schedule. Sign, he said, voice like a gavel, or this goes public. What goes public? I asked, pulse booming. Our family disgrace, he said. Your selfishness. Your abandonment. My laugh came out like a cough. You forged my generosity, then call me selfish. Elena whispered. We did what we had to, Alex. Jorge shifted behind the ficus. The recording would capture the room's temperature change when truth brushed the tablecloth. I folded my hands. I'm done discussing numbers, I said. Next, we discuss accountability. Victor smiled thinly and said 5 words that snapped something inside me cleanly. Then we'll see you in court. The sentence hung above the roast chicken like a second centerpiece. Elena gasped as if Victor had dropped a lit match. Tessa whispered, Dad. But the words sounded less like warning than request. I breathed through my nose and pictured the spreadsheet I'd made that morning. Dates, calls, documents, theater and truth aligned in 2 columns. If you sue me, I said quietly, we enter discovery. I pulled out my phone. Discovery means subpoenaed records, sworn statements, and a judge who won't care about your porch swing. Elena's eyes filled. We're your parents. I nodded, which is why I wanted the conversation to end here. I stood, left cash under my untouched plate, and nodded to Jorge. Outside, the air felt like a reset button. May called before I reached my car. How bad? She asked. They threatened court, I said. Good, she replied. Threat is leverage. Now we build the plan. I sat in the driver's seat while she outlined it. Fraud alert on my credit. File an FTC identity theft report. Notarize an affidavit denying the gift letter. Request the notary's journal. Preserve every scrap of communication. And, this stung, limit direct conversations to writing. I hate this, I said. I hate feeling like a plaintiff when all I did was say no. May's voice softened. You're not picking a fight, Alex. You're refusing to be harvested. She sent me a template for an evidence log and a script for future calls. I will only discuss this in writing. I forwarded the diner recording to a secure drive. Then I opened a new folder, Court Contingency. That night, a block number called. I let it go to voicemail and listened with May's script in my head. Victor's voice, measured. We can still resolve this privately if you accept responsibility. I saved the message. 10 minutes later, Elena texted a photo of Tessa as a toddler. Cake on her cheeks, captioned, You used to love her like this. I screenshot it, hands shaking. For the first time, I considered filing a police report. For the first time, I didn't feel like a child for considering it. In bed, the ceiling fan ticked like a metronome for dread. I scrolled public court records and found their lawyer's name on a dozen family disputes that all ended in confidential settlements. My eyelids grew heavy, but the plan kept me awake, a scaffolding I could cling to through the storm. At 7 a.m., a sheriff's deputy would knock with something heavier than a threat. The summons arrived with a polite apology and a heavy envelope. I'm just the messenger, the deputy said, and for a second I wanted to hug him for not pretending this was normal. Inside, a complaint seeking equitable contribution and unjust enrichment, alleging I had benefited from Tessa's property's stability to the family unit. I laughed, an abrupt, cracked sound, and texted May a photo. She called within minutes. It's posturing, she said. They're trying to scare you into settlement. Brief. We respond methodically. She walked me through the next steps. Retain a consumer rights attorney to coordinate with her. Draft a response denying the alleged promise. Attach the forged gift letter and my affidavit. Request sanctions for bad faith if they refuse to withdraw. Also, she said, we set a meeting, mediation, or records review, with a bank officer present so everyone hears the same facts. Invite Tessa. She needs the truth more than anyone. My throat tightened. She'll call it betrayal. May sighed. Betrayal already happened. You're introducing daylight. That evening, Elena texted, Dinner at 6. No lawyers, just family. I stared at the screen until letters blurred. Jorge couldn't make it. May offered to sit in a nearby cafe and be on standby. I went, recorder on, stomach a fist. The table was set with the good china again, as if plates could bribe fate. Victor's smile was courtroom calibrated. Let's be practical, he said. Sign a 6-month contribution. We'll withdraw the complaint. Tessa's mascara had given up. She looked like a smudged painting. Please, Alex, she whispered. I can't lose the house. I placed a single sheet on the table, an invite to a bank-facilitated records review, copied to their counsel, with a note, to ensure accuracy. Victor's eyes flashed. Elena began to cry. You're humiliating us, she said. You forged me. I replied, evenly. Tessa grabbed my wrist. Stop, she said. You don't know everything. Tell me, I said. She swallowed. It wasn't improvements, she said quietly. It was balances. High-interest ones. Some not mine. The room tilted. Whose? I asked, though my body already knew. Victor's knuckles whitened on the chair back. Elena stared at the floral border on a plate like it could explain us. Tessa's voice went small, like childhood returning to claim her. Dad's, she said. He moved stuff around, said it was temporary, that his credit shouldn't take the hit. The air left my lungs in a sound I didn't recognize, half laugh, half groan. Elena whispered, we did what we had to. Victor lifted his chin and said, very quietly, "You will not take this public." I stared at Victor across my parents' dining room and felt the anchor of my choice drop. "We won't do whispers," I said. "We'll do records." I slid a printed invitation to a bank-facilitated records review across the table, branch address, time, a conference room with glass walls so truth couldn't hide. Copied were their lawyer, the branch manager, and an officer named Patel who, according to May, likes clean lines and hates creative math. Victor's eyes skimmed the page, unreadable. Elena dabbed at her mascara like it might be evidence. Tessa stared at the empty dessert plates the way you stare at a door you can't open. "Declined," Victor said. I set my phone down, let the recorder app gleam like a small sun. "Then we proceed with discovery," I replied. "Subpoenas, notary journal, portal logs, cashier's check payees." Elena's breath hitched. "We did this to keep us together," she whispered. "Forgery pries people apart," I said. "Tessa," voice raw, "if we go to the bank, can you promise not to ruin Dad?" I closed my eyes. "I can promise to tell the truth in front of neutral people," I said, "and to stop lying by silence." Victor leaned forward, palms on linen. "You want to humiliate us in public. You want a spectacle." I thought of the porch swing posts, the captions about rising together, the notarized pretend of my generosity. "I want light," I said. "Sunlight. Spreadsheets. Screen share." Tessa let out a wounded laugh. "Screen share," she echoed, voice wobbling. "God, Alex." I softened. "You can sit next to me," I said. "No ambushes. No shouting. Simple questions and answers one line at a time." She didn't look up. Elena whispered, "Please, don't bring outsiders." I thought of how everyone had already been dragged inside. Dana from Lincoln and Klein, the deputy, the clerks at the recorder's office, the mailing shop teen. Outsiders weren't the problem. Secrets were. When I left, May was waiting in her car at the curb, heater humming. I handed her the summons and the invite copy. "They threatened, then balked," I said. She nodded. "Typical. Tomorrow we confirm the room. Tonight we draft your affidavit repudiating the gift letter with photos of your actual signature." I practiced the sentence 3 times. I did not sign or authorize the document titled gift letter. It felt like rinsing blood off a bandage. Necessary, stinging, clean. Before sleep, I set 3 alarms and laid out a quiet outfit. Gray sweater, flat shoes, clear eyes. At 8:11 a.m., my phone buzzed with a calendar acceptance from Tessa for the records review. Victor hadn't accepted yet, but he texted, "I will attend to correct misinterpretations." The conference room looked like a fishbowl, glass walls, a table that reflected faces, a TV on the wall for customer education. Manager Patel had perfect posture and a pen that clicked with the precision of a metronome. "We're here for clarity," she said. "I'll share documents on screen so we're aligned." Elena twisted a tissue into lace. Victor sat straight-backed, lips pressed white. Tessa took the chair beside me, shoulders tight as wire. May sat across, legal pad waiting. Dana from Lincoln and Klein appeared on Patel's laptop screen, her rectangle of face lit by conviction. Patel began with the refinance file, application signed by Tessa, supporting documents, the gift letter. On the TV, my forged name appeared in high definition. "Mr. Rivera," Patel said, "is this your signature?" I leaned forward. "No. My signature curves left on the R and the V, always. This one breaks mid-stroke." She nodded. "Notary journal?" The bank had obtained a copy. The entry line for that date was blank. No ID numbers, just gift assistance, family. Patel's pen clicked once. "That is non-compliant practice," she said, eyes expressionless. Next came the cashier's checks. 3 images, clean as daylight. Payees, a boutique travel agency, a private club, and a consultant listed at an address that matched Victor's office suite. Patel swiveled to Victor. "Mr. Rivera, were these disbursements for property improvements?" Victor didn't blink. "Funds were moved for liquidity," he said. "Temporary, to prevent reputational harm." Elena choked on a sound. Tessa's hand found my sleeve, fingers trembling. "Dad," she whispered. "You said roof." Victor exhaled slowly, as if we were all deeply inconveniencing him. "The intention was to reimburse," he said. "Circumstances changed." May slid a paper forward, my affidavit. Patel scanned it, then looked at Dana. Counsel, your complaint asserts a verbal promise by Mr. Rivera, she said. Do you have corroboration? Dana's mouth tightened. We have family testimony. Patel turned to the screen, clicked to show the portal access logs. IP addresses, timestamps, the number ending 1313, not 3113. This appears to be an input error, she said. But it still created risk to Mr. Rivera. The room held its breath. Tessa's voice came out small. True. I added him, she confessed. Dad told me to manage it. I thought I typed it right. Victor finally turned his head toward me. Withdraw your accusations, he said softly, and we will restructure privately. May's pen hovered above paper. I heard my heart kick like it was trying to warn me. Or I record a criminal complaint today, I said, hands steady for the first time. Silence expanded until it felt architectural. Elena's chair creaked like it might cry. Tessa stared at the reflection of her own face in the polished table. Dana's image froze and reloaded, a small mercy that hid her eyes. Victor smiled at last. That courtroom curve he wore like cologne. Let's discuss proportionality, he murmured. A family resolves family matters. No one needs handcuffs. Patel interlaced her fingers. We're not law enforcement, she said evenly. We document. We correct our records. We advise. She looked to me. Mr. Rivera, would you like us to annotate the loan file? Disputed donor signature. Donor denies participation? Yes, I said. And note portal access error not made by me. She typed, keys clicking like tiny gavels. May slid a prepared withdrawal request across to Dana's video square. If plaintiffs do not withdraw their complaint within 7 days, we would move for sanctions and submit the bank's annotations and notary irregularities. Dana cleared her throat. We'll confer with our clients, she said. Victor's jaw flexed. We won't be blackmailed by paperwork. May's eyebrows rose a millimeter. It's not blackmail, she said. It's documentation. Tessa finally found words. I'm sorry, she said, turning to me, tears slick. I panicked. I thought if Alex helped, the numbers would stop screaming. My chest hurt in a way that was neither anger nor comfort, something like mourning for a world that had never existed. I can help, I said carefully, but not by drowning. I'll pay for a session with a housing counselor. I'll go with you to talk about sale options. I will not assume debt built on lies. Outside the fishbowl, tellers stapled, whispered, lived. Inside, we signed the minute entry, Patel printed copies. We'll flag the notary journal with the Secretary of State, she added. Elena stood slowly, kissed my cheek like I'd confessed to something instead of refusing it. We raised you to be kind, she whispered. Kindness isn't compliance, I said, equally soft. Victor edged closer, his breath coffee dark. This is not over. You're right, I replied. It's documented. By evening, the complaint was still active, the rumor mill already grinding. A church acquaintance messaged, praying for you all, which is Midwest for, I heard everything. At work, my boss asked if I needed a day off. I took a half day to file my identity theft report and to request the notary's disciplinary history. Exhaustion slumped my shoulders like wet cloth, but under it was steel. On Saturday morning, an email landed from Dana. Our clients will withdraw the complaint without prejudice within 48 hours. I closed my laptop, then opened it again when Tessa called, voice shaking with a question that cut through every boundary I'd set. Do you hate me? She asked, and the words hit me in an undefended place. I sat down on the floor, back against the couch, phone warm against my cheek. No, I said honestly. I'm furious, and I'm sad, and I'm done being used. Those are different from hate. She sobbed, small as when she was 5 and scraped her knees. They'll never forgive you, she said. They'll say you humiliated us. I rubbed my eyes. They humiliated themselves with a forgery and a complaint. I just turned on the lights. Boundaries aren't fences you nail once. They're daily chores. I wrote them down anyway. No loans. No co-signing. All conversations about money in writing. If I choose to help, I pick the method and amount. Help equals skills, not cash. Counseling, job fairs, spreadsheets, referrals. May reviewed the list and added, written limits expire. Must be renewed intentionally. I printed it, signed it, and taped it inside my pantry door next to my emergency kit and my grocery list. Tessa and I met at the housing counselor on Monday. The counselor, a woman with kind eyes and brutal clarity, ran the numbers without sentiment. With your income and existing obligations, this mortgage is unsustainable, she said. Sale or rent with a concession are realistic. Redefault risk is very high. Tessa wiped her nose. If I sell, I lose the image. The counselor's gaze softened. You keep your solvency. We left with a to-do list that valued survival over optics. May gently insisted I schedule therapy. Your nervous system just ran a triathlon, she said. The therapist helped me practice sentences that didn't try to fix other people's feelings. I hear you. I'm not available for that. I love you. I won't do that. I practiced until my mouth trusted me. At night, I slept like I'd been underwater for a month and finally found the surface. 2 days later, Dana filed the withdrawal. Victor sent a one-line text. We will remember this. I replied with a single sentence I'd earned. So will I. Elena posted a photo of hydrangeas with a caption about storms pruning what doesn't belong. I scrolled past, unhooked. When I visited to pick up a box of my old yearbooks, I left a check on the hall table. Not to them, but to myself, figuratively. A promise tethered to a budget line named dignity. In the quiet of my apartment, I drafted a short, clear message to the people who mattered, explaining my boundaries and my affection. Before I hit send, a new text buzzed from an unknown number with an offer I didn't expect. Mr. Rivera, the text read, this is Investigator Hall from the Secretary of State's Notary Division. We've opened an inquiry into the journal irregularities you reported. May we schedule an interview? For a heartbeat, I imagined a parade, confetti made of notarized apologies. Then I exhaled, feeling something hum beneath my ribs that wasn't triumph, but alignment. Yes, I wrote back. Happy to help. May sent a thumbs up and a single directive. Keep living. Living looked like boring excellence. Packing lunch, running in the park, answering emails without bracing for explosions. It looked like sending Tessa apartment listings near bus lines and a moving checklist. It looked like forwarding Elena a list of caregiver resources when she complained about Victor's stress. It looked like ignoring the sugar-coated barbs that arrived from extended relatives who loved a scandal more than truth. We're praying you see reason, one aunt wrote. I've finally started seeing it, I replied, and muted the thread. At work, I presented a staffing redesign that saved 3 FTEs by reorganizing shifts, and my boss said, you're a machine in a good way. I slipped out at lunch to meet with Investigator Hall, who confirmed the notary's journal lacked required ID entries for 3 other transactions that month. We can't promise outcomes, Hall said. We can promise process. I nodded. Process had saved me. Process and patience and the unglamorous magic of a paper trail. On a gray Sunday, Tessa and I stood in her empty living room, sunlight turning dust to glitter. I thought leaving would feel like dying, she said. It feels like losing a costume. We boxed the porch swing cushions. You can buy cushions anywhere, I said. You can't buy serenity. She laughed wetly. I'll Venmo for that phrase. We hugged, a small, human thing with no caption. Outside, a realtor sign whispered in the wind. If you're watching this, and your family is handing you a debt like a baton you never agreed to carry, listen, you're allowed to ask for documents. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to require sunlight and witnesses. Write it all down. Screenshot the threats defanged by punctuation. Find a May, be one for someone else. Kindness isn't covering lies. Love isn't laundering. You are not an ATM with a pulse.